In this video, we'll be looking at question 3.1 from 5HR03. You should have read the scenario and know that this question is asking you to assess how different factors influence the reward environment within the organization. Just to be clear, this guidance shows you the methodology and approach, but you're responsible for the actual content, research, and conclusions. I won't be giving you any answers. It's all about helping you build a strong, critical response. With that said, let's walk through how to approach this step by step. First, let's talk about understanding the question. The key is the command verb, assess. So you're not just describing, you're making judgments. That means you'll need to evaluate how internal and external factors shape the organization's reward environment and how effective those strategies are. It's about looking at the bigger picture, not just listing out specific reward schemes. So what does this mean? If you spot terms like business context, reward environment, or internal and external factors, you'll want to dig into things like the economic climate, sector trends, equality legislation, and what's happening in the labor market. The assessment criteria will usually spell out which of these you need to cover. Your goal is to analyze how all these influences connect together, not just describe them one by one. Now, when you're making your judgments, don't just say what's happening. Think about how well these factors actually support or get in the way of effective reward management. For example, you might look at how sector trends or pay differences in different regions could be a challenge or maybe even an opportunity for the organization in the case study. Think about what different stakeholders, like managers, employees, or even regulators, might value, and how that affects what's seen as fair or effective. Always back up your assessments with evidence from the scenario and connect them to relevant theory. All right, now let's talk about how to plan your answer. Start with a short introduction, explaining why understanding the business context is key for good reward management in organizations like the one in your scenario. Then, organize your main analysis into 2 or 3 clear sections. First, look at external factors, things like the economic climate, sector trends, or legal requirements. Second, tackle the internal factors, maybe the organization's culture, the characteristics of its workforce, or the psychological contract. And third, bring it all together with a critical evaluation that shows how these factors interact and shape the overall reward environment. If it's useful, you could compare private sector reward approaches to other sectors just to highlight key differences. Wrap up with a summary that states your overall judgment and clearly links back to the implications for reward strategy. Throughout your answer, use the assessment criteria as your checklist. Make sure you touch on key themes like economic outlook, sector trends, equality legislation, pay trends, regional differences, and occupational characteristics. Internally, look at elements such as human capital, agency, efficiency wage, and the psychological contract. Pick the factors that are most relevant to the scenario and really focus your analysis there. Don't forget about using sources and referencing. Aim to bring in 2 or 3 solid academic sources that discuss theories or contextual influences on reward environments. Paraphrase their main points and use Harvard referencing in text, just like you would in your written assignment. For example, you might bring in ideas about how aligning reward with labor market trends is important, or how equity theory can shape employee perceptions of fairness. Connecting theory to the scenario is crucial. Always make those direct links. For instance, if the scenario mentions there aren't any incentive schemes or shows special pension arrangements for certain staff, ask yourself, how does that fit with equity theory or the psychological contract? Use the details from the case study as evidence for your analysis. Now, aiming for high marks means going for depth over breadth. Focus on the most significant contextual factors and build logical, well-supported arguments. Don't shy away from complexities. Bring up tensions like the trade-off between external competitiveness and internal equity. The highest marks go to answers that show a nuanced understanding of the reward environment, not just a surface-level overview. Finally, write clearly and concisely. Make every sentence count. Stick to simple language. Keep each paragraph focused on one idea, and make sure there's a logical flow from start to finish. Always keep the assessment criteria and the scenario front and center in your response. That's it for this question. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the rest of the series for more tips on tackling 5 HR 03 questions and building strong assignments. Thanks for watching.